I think once we lose that sense of wonder, we lose a lot of our zest for living. And I don't, in my sick, fast approaching my 69th year of life, I don't ever want to lose my sense of awe about anything. Once I start losing that, I need to check for I need to check for a pulse, or I need to really just evaluate where I am if that's the case. But I always, whenever I hear stories from somebody else that are very similar to mine, or it's just like, I mean, I just like smile and I'm just thinking, wow, I'm inspired. And that keeps my sense of awe and wonder up too, hearing other people's stories.
Right. The other beautiful thing both Robyn and you, Dave, say, and I so agree, is that when you have a moment, say, observing the squirrels or the chipmunks or the crows, and in my case, other birds, it makes us more observant. It
Hmm.
brings us mindful. We're mindful. We're not up there in our heads somewhere thinking about stuff. It brings us into the present moment, which I find a real blessing. It doesn't, it's not an escape. It's not like airy fairy spirituality out there somewhere. No, this is here now, things that take your breath away right in the moment, right in front of us. And I think that is so refreshing, especially if we can get off our screens and go have these experiences.
Well, when you immerse yourself in nature, even for half an hour, it has definite therapeutic effects in terms of reducing stress levels, probably reducing cortisol levels, which
Yeah.
contribute to high stress levels, reducing anxiety, feeling that you're connected to something greater than yourself. I mean, I climbed one mountain in my life, and it was with a friend of mine. And that climb taught me a lot about grief. It taught me a lot about support. And also, when I got to the summit, I was looking at a tree, and it was almost as if that tree was outstretching his branches, wanting to give me a big hug. And and I noted that, and I sat and I wrote something that came to mind about that. It was almost like that tree was welcoming me home. The summit was, was the top, was that moment for me. That was It was said, here, I'm welcoming you home to my home. Your home is now my home, and
Well, both
that was powerful for me.
that sense of belonging and home, I really see a lot of us who have been through both grief and trauma, and that can bring in addiction too. But grief and trauma, one commonality about our suffering is feeling lonely,
Hmm.
really, really lonely. And something about these awe and wonder moments, like your tree or a bird encounter, it takes us out of that loneliness.
Hmm.
And Robyn.
No, I was just going to say that it's almost contagious, this type of thing. When someone talks about it in group, even if we've been on a totally different subject, one person opens up a little piece of something that happened to them that made them feel um, connected outside of themselves.
Right.
And then everyone else starts to share a little something for themselves. And then we don't get into it as deep as we're able to hear with our guest on this. But I can tell when a group happens like that, we leave lighter than
Hmm.
that group really started. And I feel like that's so healing to grieving
Yep.
people, to just feel and understand how other people have experienced it, and it allows them to open up themselves more to other things. And now, like we've said so many times, I'm going to see a crow now, and I'm going to think of Dave. I'm going to think of his daughter, and I'm going to just be like, okay, hello, like we're connected now in some way, even though I
Hmm.
didn't know you before. I feel now I have this um, spiritual connection to you through a crow. And I know now I'm going to see a crow. I know it. Like I haven't seen one in so long, but I now know that I'm going to see one.
Well, and the other story that I do have, and I really didn't, because basically I know you've gotten a lot of stories about animals representing signs from our loved ones, but I have to tell this one story. I have the picture to
Oh,
prove it,
yeah.
except I don't have it. I didn't have it handy, but I can send it to you, and if you need to use it as part of the show notes, or post it somewhere. But these were two friends of mine that were visiting daughter in Alaska, and they were driving on the Denali Highway. The Denali Highway is just like, I think, this unpaved 135-mile stretch of road. My two friends know the history with Janine. They know she transitioned on March 1st. And a lot of times when when an individual manifests themselves as a sign to other individuals, when that story gets told to us, that our loved one are coming to us through those individuals who have shared the event. So when they came back from Alaska, we went out to dinner and they gave me this picture. And now the Denali Highway is 135 miles, as I mentioned earlier. They took a picture of this raven about as big as a raven that I have in my background, sitting on top of marker 31 on the Denali Highway. And crows usually, when they see, they'll fly away. When they see any, when they fly away, they will fly away when they see any type of person approach them. But my friend Tammy told me, she goes, it's like this crow was waiting there saying, will you take the picture already? So she took the picture and presented it to me. And I was speechless, which doesn't happen too. I was tongue-tied because I was so awe-inspired by that. I mean, what are the odds of seeing a raven land on marker 31 on a remote highway called the Denali Highway when there's 135 miles of highway? Now, I've interpreted that as a sign from my daughter? Absolutely. Was it also a sign from Crow and Raven reinforcing that, yeah, I'm here. And, I'm part of, and there's also a Native American, I think, belief. And again, I'm paraphrasing this, that if a bird flies to the heavens and that bird disappears, they are sending a message to Great Spirit.
What does 31 mean again?
3/1
Dave?
is March 1st is when Janine transitioned. March 1st was the month and day that she transitioned.
Okay.
And so they knew immediately what that meant because they knew the history with my daughter. And they're both very intuitive, and they presented this to me as if to say, yeah, I mean, she was on the trip with us, but obviously her energy manifested in the form of a crow, which is again an animal that I hold in high reverence for their teachings and its presence in my life. So, and again, it's something you couldn't make this stuff up even if you tried.
Mm. And it's so lovely that a friend did it, right? So, and that's what happened. Like, Val, you told me your story, and then I was like, wait, I went into the store and here's this big picture of a blue heron, right? And I send it back to Val, and then same things happen with some of our people with the dragonflies or something else that has happened. And I always get people sending me suns and things like that, or it's something that says the sun will rise,
Yeah.
a graphic. Someone's like, I'm in Philadelphia and there's graffiti on the wall and it says the sun will rise. And I've immediately thought of you and Nick and this connection. And so it's lovely when someone else picks up on something that you've told them that you found amazing or wonderful. And then they hold it with them and bring it back to you.